You clicked on this title card believing this was a small, simple thing. It's not. Lady Tremaine is complicated. And the last time we did a video like this was for Bambi's Hunters. It took 2 videos for us to overanalyze and finally get to the nitty-gritty what made these guys work. And this is the second time we're doing this. It's Cinderella's Lady Tremaine. Hello, and welcome to this part of the pond, where it's the bullfrog and the one, the only, Newt.
Face reveal at 100,000 subscribers.
We would love to have the subscribers. Any channel would want that. And when it's revealed that you see that face, you can be amazed because why? It's a face. Before we get more into this, if you're new to the pond, we are trying to find out who is the greatest Disney villain of them all. But this is not by a poll or opinion. We are doing this through a formula. And if you want the more details of the formula, go here. Basic overview we can get to is that it's 2 parts. This mathematical side, which this video is going to go through, and this essay side. That's going to be the second video. And Newt, who you think's going to win and who's your underdog?
Tough. I think I'm going to put my money on Ursula to win. And maybe not so much an underdog, but still my underdog pick is going to be the stepmom from Cinderella.
Ooh. As you can see with this mathematical bit, we begin with each and every Disney villain, but with design. And this is almost gonna be a very complicated bit. No joke. And let's begin with the simplest of simple parts of why Lady Tremaine's design is so epic. Her design is very elegant in a way. She's most iconic and well known is with the red dress and that purplish pink what do you call it? Undergown? With the frills and such, with the neck. And also that emerald. I don't know anything about fashion. I'm going to call it a brooch. I'm probably going to be way off. But that green brooch. And also her green eyes. I'm starting to notice something here. But we have to watch more Disney villains and see more Disney villains to build up on this theory. Again, this is what she's mostly known for, this design. When she actually has a lot more different dresses. When the first time we see her in a dress, you see that it's more blue, a purplish type blue with some pink, and that, again, the brooch. And no joke, there's also her nightgown, which is also this bluish pink bit at the same time. And also her going to the ball, where it's a more, again, blue and a pink. I'm noticing a pattern here. Her colors are basically pink and a blue or red. And I find it very interesting. She likes to wear her femininity with her colors, mostly around her neck and hands. The neck being closer to her head and her hands, and the lace more closer to her hands. What's the point of this, bullfrog? That is the weird point. Because with this symbol of her being a woman, with her being with her sex and dealing with this time period, women were really well confined. They couldn't do that much. She actually holds on to her femininity and turned it into a weapon. But her mind is sharp. She is tactful and amazing. When you get into her power, you won't believe the craziness I went through. Her mind is a weapon. Her hands craft and mold so much This is the highlight of her, really, is her face and hands more than anything. And that is her femininity. This is one of the reasons why I think Disney had those colors forever close to them. While the rest of her body is has this gown of masculine colors, blues and reds. Why? Is to show off that I am the man of the house. I rule. I am in charge. I am king of this castle. Not queen, king. She rules over Cinderella with an iron fist. Her daughters are more dressed in femininity. When you look at Cinderella, what are her colors? There's more blue, white, and brown associated with her. But when she goes to the ball, she has that pink dress. This is her embracing her sex, her femininity. And what does the stepmother do? Destroys it, saying, you will never be that. You'll never be a woman. You will be a servant, a man. I am denying you that part of who you are. This is just through colors. And this marriage, I stand by this. This marriage between Lady Tremaine and Cinderella weaves too much with each other that there's going to be a lot of union between most of this stuff. Almost all of it, but I could be wrong. But you may notice this has gone crazy. The next level of her design is that with most Disney villains around this time period and further on into the Renaissance and beyond, darkness and shadow and the lack of light make them, well, sinister. But with Lady Tremaine, yes, you'll see right here, that famous look, it's her moving into the darkness. That is a very important look. But also, what I think is very interesting is that one of her villainous bits shows off her design, what it's supposed to be. It's shadows, not disappearing into the shadows or coming out of the shadows. It's that in-between of shadows. Her design, her dress, and the way how she moves works better from shadow to light to shadow. When you see her following Cinderella to lock her up, when she moves through her house and through that tower, you will see constantly that she's almost going from light to shadow. And in that moment of in-between where she's locking Cinderella up, her hand, her femininity, is the only thing that comes out of the door to lock Cinderella in is shown through light. The thing that makes me a woman is shown in the light. The rest of me, masculine, is in the dark. Her dress is meant to be in between light and dark. It's not the sense of she's good and evil. It's the sense of her colors, the way how she is. Femininity and masculinity weaving her together. I could be looking too much into this. You may say that. And now to the last layer of her design. Whew. Excuse me. The next level to her design is her face. The most important piece of her design is her face. Let me explain. I need fuel, believe me, because her face is the battleground. This is another marriage between her and Cinderella. And that is, Cinderella is the first Disney princess that actually fights back. But she doesn't fight through physicality, it's through verbal. And the battlefield for Cinderella's victories is when she does this face. You see it 5 times. From when Cinderella goes, hey, I'm ready for the ball with her mother's dress, this symbol of femininity that is Cinderella, she shows this face. The second time you see that face is Cinderella dropping the plates when she realizes the man she danced with was the prince. A hubba hubba. Third time she shows this face is when Cinderella goes down the stairs and she goes, "Please, I'm here. Can I try that on?" You see that again, this face. And the fourth time we see this face is when the Grand Duke pushes her aside. Now that face isn't for Cinderella. That's because of the Grand Duke. And for that, we're going to remember this because we're going to make mention of this in the second video about acts of villainy. That face is important. To the fifth face, where Cinderella shows her glass slipper. But that time, when we see her, Cinderella, show that glass slipper, when Lady Tremaine shows her face that time, it is the entire screen. The first time we see it go big like that zoom in heavy expression is when Lady Tremaine is analyzing Cinderella, realizing Cinderella was the mysterious girl. But in the fifth time, where she goes that big awe, it's Cinderella now and forever defeating Tremaine. That's why that final face is so important. Cinderella was attacking Tremaine each and every time. But Tremaine was able to fight back each and every time. But that last time, the last time we see that face, why it has to take the entire screen, it's Cinderella winning the war. No more battles. She is free from the tyranny that is Tremaine. Why? Because I got the glass slipper, biatch. So this is just all her visual design. We haven't mentioned anything about the voice actor, who I just realized I need to go back to the notebook. I'm probably going to botch your name, girl. But the voice actress is Eleanor Audley. I'm probably way botching your name. She is amazing. And I love what she did with the voice, because there is this elegance. Well, she has a very elegant voice, but she really focuses on the tone and speed. From when Tremaine is addressing Cinderella, when we first really interact with Lady Tremaine, with her in her bed, looking like a James Bond villain with her cat. She begins slow, this elegant beat, and then she sends the sentence. I have this thing I have. Do it. She doesn't say do it. She points it out harshly. This is a jab. This is the war between Tremaine and Cinderella. And Cinderella attacked her daughters through this prank. And so she goes harsher than before. That suddenly, clean it, wash it, do it again. Those things are just her fists in this war between Cinderella and Tremaine. This is the first battle we, the audience, really see. And Eleanor does really good. And that may be, you may say, the first and only time you could say, but this is her unleashing. This is because of a prank. Throughout the rest of the movie, she holds back, but then at the same time, you hear the tone, not the speed of the tone, but this sense of here's this femininity and masculinity to the voice, this soft, sweet bit, then boom. It's very interesting. It's like these two different tones, there's two different sides to her, this femininity and masculinity. Probably one of the, again, pushing into the point that she has this duality, why she fits so well with sunlight and shadow, why she has pink and these masculine colors. The voice even inflects that from this soft bit to this firm tone. It may not mean the speed, but it also may mean the wrath of it. And what we see right there in that clip is just the small peak of the tone, not the speed, the tone of her wrath. So her design is very complicated. And you see through these multiple levels. It is amazing. And her face is so important because she has these big facial gestures. From these big giant to cunning thoughts, her smug smile. Her face is so important because it's the battlefield. And that's why it's so complicated. Face it, her design is a 4. Tell me otherwise. And now we get to her presence. I think this is actually a Disney historic moment. Because before Tremaine, when villains are having their introduction or showing off their villain, it's very immediate. I'm a villain, if you would. But Disney does it so well and subtly, they're not, I'm a villain, it's more, I'm a villain. It's obvious but yet subtle. They're not smacking it in front of your face like certain shows. But it's not, they hold back. And you may notice when I talk a lot about presence, it's the villain's intro I mostly talk about. It's always about the intro because the first impression is the most important. And because the first impression kind of establishes I'm a villain. But if you do it right, where it's not blunt and obvious like a redwood tree falling on me, we like to be more subtle. Just go, I'm a villain, not I'm a villain. And Tremaine is Disney history. She's the first one that has she has 2 different intros. Where we have the narrator bit, we get to see her, but yet we don't get to experience her. It's the second time, the real moment when we meet Tremaine. It's her in her bed being that James Bond villain that I mentioned before. And that is, she has this real presence. It's the second introduction. She has 2 moments that shows off how much of a presence she has. And it's the second time where it's more obvious. She's the first Disney villain that does this in Disney history. Other villains do this. We will talk about them. But she's the very first one to have this. But more than that, her presence kind of has these moments. And because this is the movie Cinderella, and Cinderella is all about the war between Cinderella and Tremaine, these moments of presence extremely happen only when the first blow appears. First we saw was the quote-unquote prank of Cinderella. Second time we get more a sense of presence is where Cinderella does this slicing attack. Yes, it is an attack. Why? She says this.
Maybe I should interrupt the music lesson.
It's an attack. And she disguises this attack as a letter from the palace. But when you see that interruption, the presence, this moment of villainy happens, and this is how the stepmother shows off. I'm sorry, that's a pretty, it's not that it's a sense of menace, but it's a sense of authority. Going from sitting down, crashing on those keys, and then suddenly rising up, going, this is my house, how dare you? But Cinderella just goes, letter from the palace, boom, destroying the attack. That level of moment, you're going, Cinderella won in presence. And we'll go more into that in Power. Because this is a very complicated character. This one is rough. This is Bambi, the level of Bambi's Hunters, why it deserves 2 parts. Other big moment of her presence is Cinderella doing her what she thinks is going to be the best attack. Well, not really attack. She's under this illusion that she's welcomed because of If. Again, we'll go into If in Power. But If in presence is Cinderella coming down. And Tremaine uses her presence, and Cinderella sees her presence in this big bit. And that is in a compliment. Lady Tremaine made a compliment sinister.
Oh, very clever.
These beads, they give it just the right touch. Don't you think so, Drizella?
And we'll address this more in Power, but this is just her showing off that she has presence, and Cinderella seeing it. This is really a backhand. This is a backhand slap that Tremaine's doing, and this is one meant to really hurt. Oh my goodness. And then to the greatest and most infamous act of her presence, and that is this stare. And Cinderella is in La La Land. She doesn't notice she did something wrong. And Tremaine's presence and that look and her march and going into what we went to so much into design, the light and shadow, light and shadow, light and shadow, then shadow and light. That is presence on the extreme. And that's her most infamous moment of presence. And presence, again, I want to go more into it, but that's more meant for Power. Her presence and power are so intertwined, but it's also for reacting and attacking and receiving from Cinderella. This marriage between the two. Again, it's so much like a level of, well, design was more like an iceberg. Her presence is almost like a tally list where it goes right here, here's the beginning of it. The more intimate part of this will be her power. But before we can go into power, we have to finish off presence. And when we do that, we have to go into our timing. Because, yes, we're going to time each and every villain of Disney when they're on screen, visually and audioly. So that way we can get more into that. Because this can help them with the free-for-all. When we're going to put all these, once we got their groups, we're going to throw them all together and see who's going to beat each other up. Which means we have to go back to the handy-dandy notebook. We're going to go to this one a whole lot. Yes! First time! Yes! And it's not the page I needed. Dang it. But it's Lady Tremaine. Do you think this counts, Newt?
Nope, it's not the page you needed.
Dang it. Well, her timing in presence, mind you, presence, her being on screen is, well, let's put it up right there because I just want to look. This is 7 minutes and 52 seconds, estimated. But also, we have Lucifer, her cat. We'll get into more on this in Power. The cat is 9 minutes and 2 seconds, estimated. And of course, she has henchmen. We timed them as well. And those are her daughters. Her daughters are her henchmen. And they are on 6 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm not going to put this down just yet because we're going to get into her power. Well, before we get into power, we have to judge her presence. And to be honest, this is another 4. This is just, her presence on screen is very analytical, but also this is a villain that when you go through her and really go through the formula, you can help but see, yeah, she does have presence and a lot of it. And when she weighs it on the screen, she knows she has presence and she can use it. Again, she used a compliment into a weapon. Tell me, is that not a 4?
Yes, I should be. Good Lord, what is happening in there?
Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis. At this time of year, at this time of day, in this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
May I see it?
No.
See you later.